Joining us now to talk about the arrest warrants against Putin and the Chinese president's visit to Russia is political science professor Jaro Bilocerkowycz from the University of Dayton in Ohio. Professor, are these arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court significant? Could Putin actually be arrested or held accountable?
Well, I would say that the International Criminal Court's actions are very significant, even if Putin isn't eventually arrested, and for several reasons. One, it's further educating and informing the international community regarding this gross violation of human rights of abduction of, by Ukraine's count, 16,000 children. So that's one reason it's important. Secondly, it also further stigmatizes and isolates Putin in Russia internationally. In other words, as someone seen as a war criminal, presumably it'll limit his travel to Europe, to North America, because those countries that have signed the ICC charter are required to, in effect, arrest him. So therefore, that's going to limit his travel. Fourthly, it's also a morale boost for Ukraine and Ukrainian society that these horrendous war crimes will be adjudicated, that there will be some accountability, and there will be justice at some point. So that's a big morale boost. And finally, it might even, if things go well, even cause Russia to begin to refrain from continuing this kind of horrendous behavior.
What do you think of these allegations that Russia could be forcibly taking Ukrainian youth to camps and re-educating them? Is this the first you're hearing of this?
No, I've heard about this, since the beginning. There's a lot of documentation about it. They've been taking these kids and so-called giving them patriotic education, which means pro-Russian education. In other words, taking them away from their kids. Some of them may have been from orphanages, others were displaced. And so, this is horrendous what's going on.
These allegations come ahead of a visit from China's president next week. What do you think will come out of this meeting, and what message does this send to the rest of the world?
Well, Russia and China are strategic partners. So they cooperate politically, economically, militarily, and they've done so for years, despite, this war. I think in terms of the visit and the timing, it'll be for President Xi Jinping an effort to affirm those close relations despite the war. And of course, they, for their part, haven't even recognized it as a war. They don't call it a war. They don't call it an invasion. So they're not really kind of a mediator. They do have their own peace proposal, and again, they want to win some international acclaim, and they want to sort of try to win some favor from Europe, saying, hey, we're at least trying. So on the one hand, Russia does, or I should say China does have the potential to influence Russia. For example, they don't want the conflict to get so out of hand where there's nuclear use. On the other hand, they don't want Russia to lose either because they are a strategic partner. And in addition, of course, China identifies with Russia from the perspective of they have their own parallel aspiration to eventually forcibly annex Taiwan.
Thanks so much for joining us, Professor.
Thank you.